Hello again. I have a third update on my Chip-8 visual assembler. The first thing to mention is that I have all of the opcodes implemented and they're all put into a shared folder, public folder that you can find in my anomalous things public folder. So you got all the flow operators and the input-output operators, load and store, operators would be like the adds, subtracts, and shifts. And meta is where I put the visual programming nodes that aren't actually operators, and most of these are new also. The start node I had before, but now it takes a name, and when you assemble it, it generates a little ROM object that you can plug into Outsider's emulator. So it has some changes to it. The end node is a node that is just used to stop execution. All it does is it's a loop, or not a loop, it's a jump that goes to its own address. So whatever address it happens to pick up, it will just keep jumping to that location over and over. I have a... Oops, that's the start again. We didn't need another of those. I have a label node that doesn't actually add any code. It just lets you put a label in wherever you want, and you can attach, to its address with a jump node or whatever if you want to. It just allows you to put a label at the start of your subroutines and jump to that position, and it has no effect on the code output. You can see the 1200 is the machine code for the loop at the end of the program. The label didn't contribute anything. And there you can see it does generate the little ROM cartridges. And if I gave it a name, it would put that name on them. There you go. Let's see, what else? Oh, the one that I was doing today was a... Oh, wait. No, I forgot one. I also have a data node. So you put however many bytes of data you want, and it just writes the data into RAM at the location where this node is placed. So that's a 2-byte data node, or a 1-byte data node, or 4 bytes of data. And if you use an odd number of data bytes, the other nodes do align themselves to the next even address. So you can see this is at address 200, this is at 202, even though it's only 1 byte of data. If I change it to 2 bytes of data, this is still at 202. If I change it to 3, that has gone to 204, because your actual code that you're executing needs to be aligned on an even boundary. So it accounts for that and will pad itself with zeros if it needs to fill up space to make an even address boundary for the actual operation code that's running. And as I was saying, the last thing I worked on today is a relay node, and this is just used so that your program doesn't have to be all in one giant stack here. If I take the relay and insert it here, it will continue executing over in this stack. And again, that does not insert any code when you hit assemble. It purely jumps from this node here to this node here. It's just a visual organizational thing. So you can separate out your data section or your subroutines or whatever in a separate vertical stack of code, or if your program is just too long, you can, do a bunch of vertical stacks in a row using the relays. And I did make it so that if you grab this top part and delete it, it doesn't go and destroy all of those nodes underneath it, just because that's an easy mistake to make, even though they are parented to the second half of the relay node. It kicks its children out when it's being deleted so that you don't kill them by mistake. So with that, I think this visual assembler is actually ready to use to write programs with. It has all of the critical components. The only thing that it doesn't have, which might or might not be necessary, is a node that you can locate data at a specific address instead of just at its current location. So that would be like a pad to address, where you'd say that like you want your data located at address 400, and it would just fill it up with zeros or whatever until it got to 400 and then write the data there. But I don't know if that's actually necessary or not. That's just the last thing I can think of that I needed to add. And it's possible that there are some bugs in this because I haven't tested it extensively, but I did test it a little bit. One of the ROMs that Outsider included with his Chip-8 thing was a maze example, which is a fairly simple program. So I converted the maze example to the visual assembler here. That's your program there, and then down there was just the 4 bytes of data that the maze uses. So if I assemble this, I get a cartridge with this code in it. If I take it down to Outsider's emulator, we can see it does work. And that is assembled from that stack of nodes right there. So at least the operations used in this maze example are successfully working and assembling. I think that's it for today.